Andy? We'll fight a dead body. We don't care.
Art? Hello? Are you in there, Art? Art? Hello? Art?
Yeah? What the are you doing, Andy? I'm right here, bro. Bro!
Relax, Art. I'm just trying to set up today's topic.
Well, don't do that to me, dude!
Oh.
You had me so scared, bro!
Well, Art, I was saying hello instead of hello because we're talking about the hollow Earth hypothesis today.
Oh. Why didn't you say so? I know all about the hollow Earth. It's this idea that the Earth, you know, the planet on which we live, has a bunch of, empty space in it or is maybe completely hollow.
Ah, so the hollow Earth looks substantial, but it's actually just a facade? So it's just like the candy I give my wife for all holidays, huh? You know, Valentine's Day, birthday, Christmas, sweetest day, talk like a pirate day, etc. I give her a box of chocolate-covered cherries, but hey, here's the twist. I use my tiny razor-sharp teeth and my prehensile tongue to sneakily remove the cherries, leaving behind only the chocolate coating. What mischief?
Nah, Andy, I don't think you understand this hypothesis. No, okay, all right. You're the Rat King. Nobody came along and cut a little hole in the Earth to tongue out the Earth's insides, Andy. That's not what people think. Unless they're degenerates like you. Oh, jeez. Let me tell you the real story here, bunk funkers, of the hollow Earth. This is a really old idea. I mean, ancient people used a hollow Earth or some kind of hollow Earth concepts in mythology. Usually the result is some kind of a subterranean world, like, you know, in Norse mythology, you've got Nidavellir, or Svartalfheimr. Svartalfheimer.
There.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is the home of the dwarves.
Oh.
You know dwarves.
On my axe.
Yeah, you see? You get it.
Yeah.
Now, while the geeks had the Lord of the Rings, the Greeks had their underworld, sometimes called Hades, which was where souls went after death. Now, the Hebrews have Sheol, which is the home of the dead, or in some tellings, a place of punishment for wicked people who died. Similarly, Christians have hell. Hell is not only other people, it's also a place where sinners go to be punished or separated from God for all eternity.
And Art, don't forget about Tibetan Buddhist mythology. I know you always do. It has the mythical land of Shambhala, which is the place where legend says Kalki will be born. Kalki is the final incarnation of Vishnu, who will lead a great army out of Shambhala to usher in a golden age. In some versions of the story, Shambhala is underground. Now, just to be fair, to me, it kind of seems like the underground part maybe isn't really part of the myth of Shambhala originally, but was added by Theosophists later on. I don't know that for a fact, though, just how it seems. The one thing I do know is this. Shambhala was, of course, made famous by the Daniel Moore penned song by the same name, performed most notably by Three Dog Night. Oh, ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambhala? How does your light shine in the halls of Shambhala?
Great song and a wonderful performance by Andy.
Wow, thank you.
But Hollow Earth wasn't just contained to religious traditions, ancient mythology, and Three Dog Night songs. The hypothesis persisted all the way even into the medieval times. The idea of a world beneath the Earth's surface was a key piece in the poet Dante's 14th century epic, Inferno. In Inferno, Lucifer, the fallen angel who becomes the devil, creates a huge funnel. in the previously solid spherical Earth where when he falls from heaven. Then the funnel sucks in the damned, just like how I got sucked off by the Hoover Dam. You remember that, Andy?
I remember. But, bunkfunkers, unlike Art's stories about being sexually pleasured by various landmarks, the Hollow Earth story actually takes a scientific turn. In 1664, Athanasius Kircher published Mundus Subterraneus. In this book, Kircher claimed the Earth has a central fire and vast underground lakes and lava chambers. Honestly, he wasn't really all that wrong, right? That is until also proposing that the North Pole is a gaping vortex that sucks water down to the central fire, where it gets heated and expelled at the South Pole. Enjoy your hot tub, penguins! Aside from Kircher, no less than the famous scientist Edmund Halley, or Halley, I guess, if you want, proposed that the Earth was hollow in 1692. You know Edmund Halley. You've probably seen his comet. Halley came up with this hypothesis as a way to explain anomalous compass readings. In Halley's version, the Earth is a hollow shell about 500 miles thick. Inside the Earth, there are concentric shells that all spin in different directions, but at different speeds. Also, the shells have their own magnetic poles. In the very center of Earth, there's a core. Between these layers, Halley imagined there was an atmosphere which was luminous and maybe also supported life. Halley thought that escaping gases from inside the Earth might be the cause of Aurora Borealis.
Aurora Borealis! At that time of history, at that time of year, with that type of explanation, localized entirely within Edmund Halley's hypothesis.
Yes.
Well, Andy, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you eat a lot of ham.
I have a problem.
Thank you. That was steamed hams in the style of Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast.
Hollow hams.
Hollow hams. Anyway, in the 18th century, someone finally decided to get to the core, wink, wink, of this hollow Earth. And that someone was Clerc Milifort. Clerc?
Clerc. He's French.
Milfort. A Frenchman.
Yeah.
And former military officer. Now, Clerc moved to the British colonies in North America in 1775 and began to reside among the Native American Creek Indians. Fun fact, Milfort led the Creek in battle as allies of the British against us, the Americans. What the fuck, Clerc Milfort? I'm not even going to say your name with a silly French accent.
Yeah.
Do you think it makes you cool to fight for the British against the American patriots? Like Mel Gibson in that movie?
Yeah.
That historically accurate movie?
Yeah, you fought against Mel Gibson, Milfort.
Clerc Milfort, you despicable. If I ever see you, don't you ever
Don't come
to
around the bunker. We'll beat the shit out of you. Clerc Milfort.
Oh, you're dead? Good.
Good.
We'll fight a dead body. We don't care. It's not the only thing we can fight.
We'll win that one. Clerc Milfort.
So anyway, Clerc Milfort, this traveled with a bunch of Creek people to some caverns near where the Red River connected to the Mississippi River. Milfort said that the Creek believed their ancestors came from somewhere inside the earth and came to the surface from those caverns sometime in the ancient past. Milfort said the caverns could have held up to 20,000 families.
But Hollow Earth believers weren't just anti-American. They were also true patriots who named their children things like Americus and Louisiana. Of course, I'm speaking of John Cleave Symmes, mostly called John Cleave Symmes Jr., even though he was named after his famous uncle, not his dad. Symmes was a former army officer and a failed businessman, but oh my stars, did that man love to think about what was inside the earth. In April 1818, Symmes published his cleverly titled Circular No. 1, in which he announced his hollow earth hypothesis. In the Symmes model, the Earth is made up of 5 concentric spheres, so it's kind of like Edmund Halley's hypothesis. But this wasn't just a copycat job. Symmes made a pretty important contribution to Hollow Earth lore by coming up with the concept of entrances to the inside of the Earth at the poles of the Earth. Basically, Symmes believed there were big openings at the North and South poles where you could get all up inside the Earth and find it, quote, stocked with thrifty vegetables and animals, if not men, end quote. For his contribution, Sims' name was given to these hollow earth entrances. Now, bunkfunkers, what I'm about to say is going to sound like a joke, but please believe me, this is 100% true. Polar openings to the hollow earth are now known as Sims holes. Now, again, not a joke, that's a fact. They are called Sims holes. At any rate, Sims and his holes became somewhat legendary in hollow earth circles. Huh? And there's even a monument to Sims, complete with a hollow earth on top, in Hamilton, Ohio. In his lifetime, Sims proposed an expedition to the North Pole Sims hole. Thanks to one of Sims' supporters, funding for the expedition was even voted on in Congress in 1822. Naturally, these boring-ass frickin' congressional representatives voted it down. These old-ass frickin' geezers can suck my Sims hole.
Okay, boomer.
I'm cool, whatever.
Sims' expedition might have gotten shot down by Congress, but fascination with a hollow earth refused to die. In 1864, Jules Verne published A Journey to the Center of the Earth, which was a story about a weird world on the inside of the Earth. It's pretty famous.
Yeah.
They've made it into movies. They've done a lot of things with it.
Yeah.
It's a very well-known work of fiction. But in 1885, William Farfield Warren published Paradise Found, the cradle of the human race at the North Pole. This book proposed that the origins of humanity were in a continent in the Arctic called Hyperborea. Now, Hyperborea borrows its name from Greek mythology, where Hyperborea was a land of giants, quote, beyond the north wind, end quote. Influenced by Warren's Hyperborea, Marshall Gardner later proposed that both the Eskimo and Mongolian peoples came from inside the Earth through a Sims hole at the North Pole. God damn, Andy. This Earth has so many people inside. They're coming out of our Sims holes.
Hey, well, all right, how about people going into your Sims hole?
Oh, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, we should all be so lucky.
Yeah.
Because that's just what was proposed in 1907 by the spiritualist Walburga Lady Paget in her book Colloquies with an Unseen Friend. In the book, it's claimed that there are cities beneath a desert, which is where the inhabitants of Atlantis moved after Atlantis was unfortunately sunk into the sea. According to the book, an entrance to this underground realm will be discovered in the 21st century. So hey, bug bunkers, keep watching the news for updates on this. It'll be coming any time now. A few years later, in 1913, Vladimir Orbachev wrote a novel called Plutonia. In Plutonia, the inside of the Earth is full of prehistoric species and is accessible through a Sims hole in the Arctic. In 1922, Ferdinand Ossendowski added to the lore of Hollow Earth with his book Beasts, Men, and Gods. In this book, Ossendowski wrote that Buddhists told him about an underground kingdom on the inside of the Earth called Agarthi, or Agartha.
In 1940, George Papashivli, is that right?
Sure.
Papashivli wrote Anything Can Happen. In this book, Papashivli said he discovered a cavern in the Caucasus Mountains where he found humanoid skeletons, quote, with heads as big as bushel baskets, end quote. He also claimed to find a tunnel which went to the center of the Earth. A guy went into the tunnel, but never came back out. Raggy.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo now.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. And then, according to alleged 1947 diary entry, Medal of Honor recipient Admiral Richard E. Byrd claimed to have actually visited the Hollow Earth. Now, to be fair, the authenticity of the diary entry is disputed. Byrd was a famous polar explorer who may have completed the first flight over the North Pole, which, again, is a fact that's also disputed. But according to the diary entries, Byrd's plane was guided into the Hollow Earth, get this, by flying saucers, where he met a race of beings which live inside the Earth. He also saw a mammoth, a hairy prehistoric elephant. Byrd got to meet with someone called, quote, the Master, who told Byrd that the advanced race inside the Earth was, well, disappointed in humanity using nuclear weapons and that a dark age would soon befall the surface-dwelling humans. Byrd took this information back to the U.S. government, and they told him to keep quiet about it. Typical U.S. government.
Jeez Louise.
In 1964, Dr. Raymond Bernard, which was actually a pseudonym for Walter Sigmeister, wrote a book called The Hollow Earth. This book put forward the idea that UFOs were coming from inside the Earth. Along these same lines, an early ancient astronaut proponent, Peter Colosimo, claimed that a robot was spotted going into a tunnel underneath a monastery in Mongolia. Colosimo also reported underground lights could be seen in Azerbaijan. Now, cryptozoologist Michael Grumley has suggested that cryptids like Bigfoot, possibly even our friend Elon Musk, are connected to prehistoric underground tunnels.
Edmund Haley, you might have seen that comet coming, but you didn't see this coming out of your hollow earth, did you? Huh?
Did you?
Did you think about Bigfoot's coming out of your hollow earth, Edmund Haley?
You want to tag team up with Clerc Milifort and fight me and Andy? We'll do it.
We'll do it. You might be smarter than us, but you're deader than us. Then in 1998, one of humanity's all-time favorite writers and television presenters, David Hatcher Childress, wrote the book Lost Continents and the Hollow Earth. In this book, Childress supported the Hollow Earth hypothesis with claims of some kind of system of tunnels beneath South America and Central Asia. The book also reprinted the stories of Richard Sharp Shaver. Those stories date back to 1945 to 1949, when Amazing Stories magazine ran a series of stories by Shaver, in which Shaver claimed an ancient but advanced race of people built a cave system inside the earth. According to Shaver, the descendants of this race, who are degenerates known as the Diro, still live in this cave system and use the advanced machines left behind to screw with people living on Earth's surface. For example, the Diro might make you hear a voice that doesn't have a clear source. After these stories ran in Amazing Stories, lots of readers wrote in saying they also heard voices coming from inside the Earth.
In more modern times, one more prominent Hollow Earth proponent is Rodney Clough. Clough has written multiple books on his Hollow Earth research. These books claim the interior of the Earth has its own sun and is actually a paradise, which has optimal conditions for growing plants, animals, and even giant people. Clough has a wide range of beliefs about the Hollow Earth, believing that lots of people, different people, reside inside. People like, Nazis escaping from Germany at the end of World War II, including Adolf Hitler himself. Inuits, there's Vikings who colonized Greenland. I mean, you got a whole smorgasbord of people there.
Yeah. Quite, the parties are nuts.
Here's how Clough describes the interior of the Hollow Earth. Quote, "It has a perfect temperature. God made the inner sun so that it provides heat during the night and a little bit less at night. Trees grow up to 1,000 feet tall. Humans even grow up to 15 feet tall." End quote. These humongous humans, according to Clough, are descendants of the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Art, let me take over here for a second.
All right, Andy.
In my official role as the official biblical lore historian of Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time, it is my duty to address the 10 lost tribes of Israel. So when the Hebrews made their exodus from Egypt, they numbered 12 different tribes. After Moses died and Joshua led the tribes into Canaan, now, if you'll recall, God only allowed Moses to lead the Hebrews to Canaan, but Moses could not enter the promised land. Anyway, the 12 tribes took possession of Canaan. Joshua set up each of the 12 tribes with their own portions of land. Eventually, the tribes formed 2 independent kingdoms. The tribes of Judah and Benjamin formed the kingdom of Judah, and the tribes of Asher, Dan, Ephraim, Gad, Issachar, Manasseh, Naphtali, Reuben, Simeon, and Zebulun all formed the kingdom of Israel. Israel eventually was conquered by the Assyrians, and the 10 tribes were absorbed into Assyrian peoples and vanished from history. Some people, though, believe the 10 tribes were not destroyed, but will be found again someday. Over the years, lots of different groups of people have been suggested as descendants of the 10 tribes. People like the Beta Israel, which are Ethiopian Jews, Assyrian Christians, Afghans, Native Americans, the Japanese, and even Mormons.
Mormons? Just like Rodney Clough. He was a Mormon.
That's right.
According to Clough, the 10 tribes were led inside the earth by God, entering through a symmes hole at the poles. Now, Andy, is it just me, or do symmes holes at the poles Sound like some kind of roadside truck stop known for its glory holes that's like right next to some flagpoles or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the 10 tribes have done pretty well for themselves inside the earth. Here's what Clough says, quote, they have flying saucer technology. They live lives of perfect health for hundreds of years. Their science is much more advanced because they live much longer lives. End quote. They're living for hundreds of years in perfect health. Meanwhile, I've had a sore throat for 13 years and had to be recircumcised again because my friggin' foreskin keeps growing back. I need to get inside this earth, Andy. I got this regrowing foreskin.
Yeah, you're recircumcised again.
It's like a really shitty superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
The power to regrow my foreskin.
You're crazy growing foreskin. Well, Art, maybe you're in luck. Some people think we are already on the inside of the Earth. So far, we've really only covered so-called convex hollow Earth hypotheses. That is, where the idea is that we live on the outside of the Earth and there's hollow space inside the globe of the Earth. Some people, though, think it works the other way around. In a concave hollow Earth model, we live inside of a hollow planet. That means that outer space, really the entire universe to us, is inside the hollow planet shell. Now, definitely the convex model has been more popular in history, but the concave model is not without its supporters. Perhaps most notably, Cyrus Reed Teed, a doctor from New York, developed a concave hollow Earth hypothesis. Teed was kind of a quack who used electric shock treatments on his patients, including himself. Apparently, he shocked himself so bad one time he passed out. When he woke up, he realized he was the living incarnation of Jesus Christ, and he also had a vision of a new kind of hollow Earth. According to Teed, we live inside the hollow Earth and look up at the universe, which is actually an illusion created by reflections of the sun. Teed referred to his hypothesis as cellular cosmology, quote-unquote, cellular cosmogony, quote-unquote, and even started a religion, Koreshanity, based on it. Teed started calling himself Koresh and started a utopian commune in Florida, the Koreshan Unity. After Teed died, his followers claimed that they verified Teed's hypothesis through scientific testing using equipment that they developed themselves. For example, they used what they called a quote-unquote rectilineator to validate the Earth's curvature is actually concave.
Now, Teed's community eventually disbanded, but was not the only concave Earth supporter. The mathematician Mustafa Abdelkader wrote scholarly papers making a detailed map of the concave Earth. His model, rays of light go in a circular path, slowing down as they get close to the center of the spherical cavern. That is, the inside of the hollow Earth. Energy can't reach the center of the hollow Earth, which is an infinite distance away from the Earth we live on. I'm not sure what to make of this concave Earth thing because, just like the hypothesis itself, that was all over my head.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Thank goodness for Martin Gardner. In his 1992 book, On the Wild Side, Lou Reed, I don't know if he's a part of it or not. I mean, he's walking on the wild side. Gardner addresses Abdelkader's model. So according to Gardner, no experiments would be able to identify the difference between Abdelkader's cosmology and the current accepted scientific cosmology. Gardner says this, quote, most mathematicians believe that an inside-out universe with properly adjusted physical laws is empirically irrefutable, unquote. After all this, though, Gardner said the concave hollow Earth hypothesis must be rejected because of Occam's razor.
Oh, Occam's razor?
Oh, boy.
Swing! I'm at full mast here, Artie. The mere mention of Occam's razor makes me Occam. I'm Occaming over here.
Oh, boy.
But hey, speaking of
God.
Occam's razor, are there any arguments to be made against the hollow Earth hypothesis? Well, according to Science-y types, if you measure how long it takes for a seismic wave, which is a vibration in the Earth's surface and below, to move around the Earth, it does not support that the Earth is hollow. Rather, it supports that the Earth is probably full of rock and metal. The evidence points to the composition of the Earth being basically what is generally accepted. Solid rock making up the crust and the mantle, liquid nickel iron alloy making up the outer core, and solid nickel and iron making up the inner core.
There's also gravity evidence to consider here. In space, objects with mass tend to gather together, creating spherical objects that are not hollow. Objects like, stars and planets. Additionally, scientists believe that a planet-sized object with a hollow shell, the thickness of the Earth's crust, would honestly just collapse under the force of gravity. Scientists also point to the amount of gravity felt on Earth's surface as evidence of its non-hollowness. Now, eggheads can use that force to calculate an average density for the whole planet Earth and blah, blah, blah. This density is greater than the typical density of rocks on the surface. If the Earth were really hollow, the density of surface rocks would be greater than the average density, and likely by quite a bit. Since, that's not what's observed, this helps support that the Earth is filled with materials denser than what was found on its surface.
Well, bunk funkers, Earth, we hardly knew ye. Our big, beautiful planet is already chock full of life and interesting things. But maybe this whole time we've been ignoring even more wonders right under our feet. Or maybe there's nothing but 4 concentric spinning rings. Or at the end of the day, maybe the inside of the Earth is full of rocks and shit. Whatever the case might be, we know for sure of one thing that's full. That's your mind tummy. Because it's all the way full of the whole enchilada.